Live CDP, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast live on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor FM. Now here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this live with CDP Sports Talk podcast on this Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, Season 4, Episode 26. I'm looking forward to having my guest today, Jairus Lovell, come on and talk about he's wanting to be an actor in the entertainment industry. Also talk a little sports with him, a little pro wrestling, and how I met him on a group, support group called The Unsealed, which Lauren Brill created a couple years ago. And Jairus is a great guy as well, and I'm going to bring him on in a minute. And also, guys, as I bring Jairus on too, I have a demo reel that was just finally made up as well. So I'm looking forward to sharing that. So I'm just going to bring Jairus on first, and then I'm going to show you guys a 3-minute clip of my demo reel, which I'm going to use for applying to radio stations. 1 second. Good afternoon, Jairus. How you doing?
How you doing, Chris? I'm
great.
Good.
Good. Yeah. Other than me fighting a lousy cold off, I'm doing okay. I'm a lot better than I was yesterday.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
So it's that time of the year, and being around a lot of people lately. So I don't think I have corona, but I might get tested tonight. I have a testing kit at home, but I think it's just basically rest and sleep and hot soup.
Okay.
So how was your day? Pretty good day?
You know what? I was at the post office today. I was getting a passport done. It took about 2 hours to do. Besides that, I'm good. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I didn't think it was gonna take that long. So.
Well, I know with the pandemic here in Canada, everything was shut down, and they're still backed up with people trying to renew or get new passports. Thank God I did mine over 10 years. But one thing the Canadian government should have done was when the border was shut down for 2 years and nobody could travel, people should not have lost those 2 years of their passport time. They should have made an exception for that. I don't know about the States, but I don't think it's fair people pay for 5 or 10-year passports and then 2 years where they can't travel at all. At least you got your passport done. How many years did you do it over?
You know what? This will be my first one. So
okay. Yeah, you need it even to driving across the border to Canada. You need the passport, and then you need the Arrive Canada app too on your phone. They're still doing that. Where it's not that hard. You download the Arrive Canada app off of Google Play or Apple iTunes, and then you just enter your email and password, and then all you do is scan your passport on the app and your vaccination stuff, and it's all done. So I think Canada is going to keep it like that for another year at least.
And you're where from Canada are you from?
I'm just from outside of Toronto. It's a city called Guelph, Ontario. It's an hour from Toronto, 2 hours from Buffalo, and I think 4 hours or less from Detroit.
See, I didn't know you were from Canada. I thought you were in Chicago or something.
No, I've been to Chicago twice, but no, I'm Canadian. So I hope that's okay.
No, that's fine. I wouldn't have thought that you were Canadian. That's all.
I do spend a lot of time in the States. Honestly, I do. I like to go to sporting events. I like to go shopping in the States, and I like to get some groceries when I go over there too. But I noticed the price of things over in your country are getting expensive.
Yeah, but just make more money. That's really what you have to do.
Yeah, that's true too. So, but anyways, before we get to some questions, you don't mind if it's okay if I show my audience my new demo? It just came out about 30 minutes ago. I'm just so excited about it. And then we'll get into some questions, and we'll get into sports, and we'll talk some pro wrestling as well. Just give me 1 second.
Right.
The former Hamilton Tiger Cat. How do they stop him in the second half? I believe he's got over 100 yards receiving alone in the first half. Question I wanted to ask you specifically. Oops, technical difficulty.
Do you
Okay.
still feel McLeod Bethel Thompson is a long-term solution as the franchise quarterback? And do you feel Chad Kelly will eventually get his opportunity at some point this season?
I honestly think the Sabres will trade him for the right package. So we'll see what happens there. And the Sabres also have won the draft lottery, and it'll be interesting to see if Owen Powell, the defenseman from Michigan Wolverines, will let the Sabres draft him, or he'll come back and play another year of college hockey at Michigan.
About a year ago, I reached out to Jerry Howarth, and I figured I'd have no chance on social media with him. He wouldn't even reply back. And within a day or two, he replied back, and he came on my podcast and talked to me for over an hour. And he's also told me how much I've improved in the last year as well. And if I can reach out to Jerry Howarth, I can pretty well reach out to anyone, because he's one of the legends in the sport. His name, but I guess he was only 18 years old, and he wasn't even from Buffalo. He was from Conklin, New York, which is a suburb of Binghamton.
Binghamton.
Yeah, upstate New York, in a little town of 5,000 people.
But what are your thoughts of the pickups of Matt Carpenter and Josh Donaldson? And do you feel that Brian Cashman needs to make another trade before the deadline to add to the starting pitching staff? I'm with Buffalo Bison's color analyst Duke McGuire and Buffalo Baseball Hall of Famer. Duke, I was going to say, what are your thoughts on the current 2022 Buffalo Bison so far this year?
Okay, my next question I wanted to ask you, Stu, is did you do any internships or any kind of volunteering when you were first starting out in the industry?
Yeah, I can sort of relate doing, I do volunteer work with Rogers TV here, which is, they're a big cable company. They own all the Toronto teams. And when I do hockey games and live broadcasts, I'm always a little bit nervous. But once we get started, then the nerves disappear because you're focusing on what you're trying to do.
And can you imagine if they had more playoff spots back in the 80s? The Tigers and the Jays would have been playing a little more in the postseason as well. The producer, Neil, didn't put me on the top cameras, but they put me in behind the net. And basically, Neil said, you might not be on the center ice camera, which is kind of the main ones, but he goes, every camera position is important. I've had to do that a number of times, Eric, where a guest has had an emergency or something come up, and I still wanted to come on, and the show has to go on, so I just talk about what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And if somebody comments, I bring their comment up. Anyways, guys, that demo was courtesy of Onward Media in Kitchener, and I want to say thank you to Greg McBride and Jairus. Thank you for letting me show that demo that just came out brand new to my audience and that.
Yeah, it looks great, Chris. Looks great.
Thank you. And like I said, I'm really working hard on trying to get into the radio industry, and today is my 191st episode since March of 2020.
I don't know. That's great.
So that's great. Okay, well, we'll get into some questions, Jairus. First one, can you tell my audience here in Canada, just outside of Toronto, a little bit about yourself?
So I am a artist overall. I'm just gonna do music. I'm doing some movies. Well, I say some, but I've done a movie so far. And I showed you, Chris, actually. How did you like that, by the way?
It was good. It was good.
Okay, because some people I show that movie and they just get confused about it. What else can I say? I need to get better at just telling more people about myself. But like I said, I'm an artist. I'm a conscious manifester. I'm not sure if you're into The Secret and the Law of Attraction, but that's basically almost everything I do in personal development. If anything comes to mind, I will definitely let you.
Oh, I think I lost
I'm
Jairus.
so sorry.
It's okay. It happens. It happens. It happens to the best of us. It's happened to me too. And that's the one thing I've learned about doing this show is always be prepared for the unexpected and just to keep going until my guest comes back or I come back.
Yeah, that was a call from a coworker of mine, and I'll call her back as soon as the interview. She actually never calls me, so that's just insane that just happened.
One thing I noticed with cell phones, you have the whole day, nobody calls you, and then when you're actually doing something important, that's when they call you.
Yeah, so So yeah, that like it's synchronicity or unexpected.
Yeah.
These things that happen unexpectedly. Again, that goes back to personal development. But yeah, I mean, if anything else comes up, I'll definitely let you know. But we can just keep it going, you know.
Hey, I was gonna say, when I was your age, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't really have a focus, so
Mm,
it took me almost 48 years. I shared this story with Lauren Brills on Sail Group. I got a taste of doing volunteer work with the basketball team. It led me to a cable company doing camera work, and then it led me to my podcast, and it's kind of changed my life. And yeah, like I said, age is just a number, and it's never
it
too late.
really is.
It's not too late to ever start a new career at 50 years old or 20 or whatever age you are.
I can give you a whole bunch of people that started at different times in their lives, whether it's and you're in your 50s, right? So that's
50,
like,
yeah, 50,
yeah.
yeah.
So you're like Ray Kroc started, I think, at 52 with McDonald's and like
Donos, yeah.
yeah, the little things like that. There's more stories, but that's one of the number one stories when it comes to 50s. And then Colonel Sanders in 66, you know, like it really like, and in your case, it's not like you were dilly dallying, you didn't know what to do. So the fact that you're like you finally did find it, I think that's
Yep.
more important, that you finally did find what you wanted to do, and you're pursuing it now. And I think like Chris, I actually admire you, I really do. Like
Thank you.
that's like it's really fun, like crazy to see someone of I'm sorry, another text message. I'll just like I'm gonna
Don't
answer
worry
that
about it.
one afterwards. But but yeah, I was saying like the fact that you're just like pursuing it, even though like a lot of people wouldn't do that, like because they would actually use their age as an excuse. Like I'm 50, I don't know what I'm doing. I shouldn't do this because my age is insane that I should be like this in terms of society, but in terms of societal standards. But you know, like that's actually like the fact that you're doing it and you're like, no, I want to do this. I don't care what age I am. I don't care. I want to do this regardless. And it's better to pursue it. And actually, you know what? It's funny. I don't think you were at the workshop last night because actually
No,
this.
I was in bed. I was not. I told Lauren I just wasn't feeling up to it. So
But Lauren actually she actually made what was the workshop about? It was about not live. Well, I made my letter about not living in regret, but she's like getting. Oh, you know what it was? Getting outside your comfort zone,
yes,
and that's what you like. And my letter was very similar to that. Do I have it here? Do I like? Because if not, I'll just read it. I'll read it live. Because
yeah.
like mine was really good that I really liked. So just bear with me. I'm actually gonna read my letter that I used. Like, by the way, how I met Lauren was a few years ago before she made the Unsealed. She we met at night and you know, and then we just like, you know, we just became friends ever since. And like I was actually telling her last night, like, you know, like you're gonna do well, you're gonna do fantastic with the company, because you know being an entrepreneur is not easy, I'm sure,
No,
but you know it's just like, but all the same, like she's doing fantastic, and I think she may need a little help, but like all the same, she's doing well. But let me get to the letter because I'm starting to ramble.
it's okay.
so yeah, this is about comfort zone. This is what I wrote. Historically, anytime I really desired to do something, I just did it. Even though sometimes there would be doubt, I would do it. And anytime I just stayed in my comfort zone, I almost never got what I desired. So now that I've experienced both, I know that going for what you desire is better than the regret of not doing anything, because then you'll live in regret. Right now, as I write this letter, I'm doing something outside my comfort zone, which I'll keep to myself. It's a program I'm doing. I actually said that last night as well. However, I'm going to accomplish this because I know that it's ultimately going to do wonders for me. Anytime I go out of my comfort zone overall, I actually always feel incredible and thankful that I took the jump, because if I refuse, I know it will be on my mind forever in one form or another. Overall, throughout the theme of this letter, the consequence, wait, hold on. This letter, the consequence of not going after your dreams, I highlighted the consequence of not going after your dreams. So, with that being said, I desire to say this last thing. You are not allowed to have a dream you can't make come true. So do what you love. You can't spell the word goal without the word go. So go and do it. I know you can. Jairus Lovell.
That's some good stuff. And like I said, most of the people have been pretty supportive of what I'm trying to do, but I've had some naysayers and people that are like, you're having a midlife crisis and stuff like that. But I ignore that, and then I got people telling me, oh, you're not a female, you're not 25 years old. And I said, listen, I'm not worried about other people. I'm worried about myself, and this is something I have a passion for. And I know it's not an easy road, but the guy who inspired me into doing this was Vince Papale, who played for the Philadelphia Eagles in the 1970s. He made
Mm-hmm.
the team as a walk-on, as a bartender, and
Mm-hmm.
they made a movie about his story in 2006 called Invincible. It
I
was
saw it.
on.
I saw that
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, and that inspired me. I'm an Eagles fan, by the way, but he inspired me, and it's like he was the oldest rookie to play in the NFL at that time, and I'm trying to be the oldest rookie in radio and stuff, and I'm willing to learn, and that's what I love about doing the TV work I do right now, doing live broadcasts. I get to see the TV side of it, and then here I do the TV side and the audio side of it as well, and I like storytelling, learning stuff from my guests, and yeah, it's changed my life the last 2.5 years, and it did get me through the pandemic.
That's even better. Like me, I didn't like when COVID happened. I was like, I mean, I was still working, so I was one of the few people that were still fortunate enough to work. But
Hmm.
overall, I was like, I mean, I personally was fine, but I'm sure there was a lot of people, and I'm glad to hear that you had something to bide your time or and not be inside your head about it,
Yep.
because I'm sure a lot of people were going a little insane with that.
Oh
So
yeah. Yeah, it
yeah,
got me through those years, and this summer I did more stuff media-wise and doing this radio stuff in the last than I did in the last 10 years. So I think I've learned to appreciate doing things more than I did before the pandemic.
okay,
So
okay.
here's the next question I wanted to ask you, Jarius.
hmm
When did you decided that you wanted to pursue a career in the entertainment industry as an actor, or and even get into the music industry side of it?
When I was about a kid, well, I say I was about, but when I was younger, I wanted to be either an actor or a cop. I knew I wanted to be an actor, but you know what? There's actually a whole story behind it. So let me start over. When I before I was born, my mom, she had told me the story about how I would always kick her whenever Jeopardy was on or Wheel of Fortune was on. And then I had a small dream of being a game show host when I was younger, because I'm a 90s kid. So when I was young, it was about like, Double Dare and Figure It Out and all the Legends of the Hidden Temple and like game shows like that. So I also had a small dream of being a game show host, but I knew the big dream was being an actor. So in terms of the entertainment industry, I knew that's where I'm headed. I was always going to be. So in terms of pursuing acting, that's just one out of two or three things that I want to do while I'm in that industry, but I do know that I want to be in there. So it's more so a calling, more so than like a interest, if that makes sense. So that's if that answers your question at all. That's what really propelled me. As a matter of fact, I was telling my best friend, he's a rapper, by the way. I was telling him that the other day. It's like, oh, what inspired you to become an actor? Like, and I just told him my whole resume of like how I've always just been an artist in general. Not that I've gotten paid for it, obviously, but how I've lived my life is basically art. So
By the
that's
way, I was gonna say I don't have any musical career. I did karaoke a couple years ago in New York City, and the owner's like, "Hey, thanks for clearing out my bar. Don't come back again." So I had a little too much to drink down in New York City, but
hey,
I
it's
tried
fine, Chris.
karaoke. I tried it once, and I honestly, it's a God given ability. You either have it or you don't. I don't know. To me, I just never had that ability, but I guess if you work at it too,
hmm Yeah. Yeah.
definitely.
And actually, like, there's other things I want to do, but I'm also going back to this, like, okay, how does this go back to like the entertainment side of things? So I have other interests too, but like I just need to make a plan of how I'm gonna do everything. Because the truth is, I'm gonna do everything that I want to in life. That's just a
and,
fact of the matter,
and
and
that's
you're supposed to.
yeah, and that's what I've been trying to do. And even with this podcast show, talk show, I also do camera work. I do live interviews. That's digital writing. I'm trying to do as much as I can, so somebody will look at it and say, "Hey, this guy's pretty good at a little bit of everything as well."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then, like I
So
said, you're meant to do everything that you want to do. Like you're meant to accomplish all your dreams, all of them, not just like the one big one. You're meant to accomplish everything. So, and as I'm saying that, I'm really starting to realize that a lot more. So that was something that was boggling my mind, but I think I answered my own question now that I just said it. So yeah, what else you got for me, Chris?
okay, get another question for you. I still got lots of questions.
Mhm.
Jairus, can you just tell us about some of your acting work you've already done? And do you plan on taking some kind of schooling, like acting schooling and stuff like that as well?
Put it like this. I've always felt a way about schooling. Now, here's how I feel about it, and this is also the way I think as an actor as well. Well, let me answer the school part first. I took acting classes before, but for me, I feel as if because it also depends on your technique because you have Sanford Meisner, you have Lee Strasberg, you have Stella Adler, you have different sort of teachers for different sort of techniques, whether you're using your imagination or a combination of both, which is Meisner, or complete method acting, or Stanislavski's method, which was the prototype of method acting. So that's actually a really decent question. Like, oh, do you intend to do any school with acting? But in drama school, I don't think that's for me. I mean, like if you want to do that, go right ahead. But it also depends on your medium. Like I'm very centric when it comes to mediums. What I plan to do in terms of acting is movies. That's what I've always wanted to do. That's what I'm going into. I think what stops a lot of actors is that they don't get very specific. I know I want to do movies. I've always been love movies. I always wanted to do movies. So I think by choosing your medium, you're able to get a lot more focus as opposed to just doing whatever the hell comes by just to, pay bills, which is like the starving artist mentality, which I don't subscribe to. So, that's the answer to that second part. But as far as the acting work, I mean, I have one short movie up. I'm gonna do more. I don't know when it's going to be, but that one movie that I showed you, I forget the name of the movie, but the undelivered message. That's one movie that people can see, and I show that to a lot of people actually. So that's the one movie. So thus far,
Do you have a website and a YouTube channel you can mention on here for my audience?
I do have a YouTube channel, but it doesn't have it up, and actually that video is actually on the director's YouTube channel, and he sent it to the cast. So I won't be. I mean, I can show you, and I can probably send it to you, but I mean, I already sent it to you, Chris. But like, I'm not sure if he can unlist it or not because it's under his YouTube, but as soon as I get more stuff, I'll let you know, and I'll uh, have it on a link.
Yeah.
I actually do have one Instagram page, but it's dedicated to law of personal development. My Instagram page that's JLW 310. So
Okay.
JLW 310. That's a personal development
Okay.
um,
And then you're on
Instagram,
Twitter.
and then I'm on Twitter, Jairus
Twitter.
Lovell. I also have
Definitely.
I have other pages, but they're deactivated. I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
But I'll definitely let you know. As a matter of fact, you can have me on again. I'm fine with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say, and I against hey the schooling too. I'm not against the schooling. Like I took law and security when I was younger, didn't know what I wanted to do, and I don't regret it.
Hmm.
But I've had guys that are on from ESPN, TSN here in Canada, telling
Hmm.
me, Chris, why would you go back to school for this when you're doing all the work yourself? What I'm doing everything. I'm not against schooling, like you said.
Hmm.
I'm doing what's the word I'm looking? We're both doing this self-schooling way. We're schooling ourselves the old fashioned way of doing this.
Hmm. And making our own brand out of it,
Yes.
as opposed
Yeah.
to like subscribing to someone else's and then morphing it
Yeah.
into your own.
Yeah. And like I said, my this talk show here, I'm the producer, I'm the host, and I do all the guest booking. Like every guest that comes on here, I have to arrange my schedule with theirs as well. And I'm doing everything that I would learn in a radio station as well. And then doing the camera work for Rogers TV, which is a major cable company in Toronto. It's a $1 billion company. I'm learning the TV side of it as well. So I'm getting my volunteer work in, but I'm also getting experience as well.
Awesome. That's
So we're
fantastic.
so we're taking a little bit of different career paths, but I can relate to your story too, Jairus.
That's great. That's
So
phenomenal, Chris.
I just happen to start a little bit later in life than yourself, but it's hard to know when you're younger what you want to do. I unfortunately I didn't really know, and they didn't have this technology back then. But like I said, sometimes you know earlier in life, and sometimes
You
you're
know
a
later.
late starter.
It's
Yeah,
fine. You ever heard of Robert Kiyosaki?
no,
Okay, well, he released a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's the greatest personal finance book of all time, and he released it when he was 50. So, Chris, Chris, I mean, like it's like you said, like you sometimes you know and sometimes you know later. It's not that you were dilly dallying, you just didn't know what you wanted to do, and the fact that you know it now and you're going to pursue it, it's phenomenal. I'll give you one more example. There's this guy, his name is Neil Donald Walsh. He was a part of a movie called The Secret. He wrote a couple books called Conversations with God, but before he had that success, he was in his 50s. He was homeless. He almost broke his neck and things like that. You can actually look it up. I think like his website is Conversations with God. But the point is, he started when he was in his 50s as well, and he basically made an empire based on Conversations with God. It actually was made into a movie as well, and he was one of the contributing teachers in the movie The Secret. So I'm sure you've heard of that. Everyone's heard of that. I mean, if you haven't, fine. But that the point is he got off. I don't want to say late because it makes it sound like it's too late. It's not too late. It's just later on. I just said I don't want to use the word late, but you know what I mean. Like let's say further along in life. Yeah. So
absolutely. And like I said, age is just a number. And a lot of people that look at me, they're like, there's no way you're 50. I get told I look like I'm 30, 35. So I guess I'm not a big drinker. I'm not a big smoker. And
there you go.
I think having a healthier lifestyle kind of helps you too. Because I know when I was a kid, somebody was 50. I'm like, oh my God, they're ancient
Isn't
and they're
that
old.
always the
But
way? Like
yes.
you like
Yeah.
when you're that age, you don't think that way, but when you're that age, when you're further along in life, you're like, oh, still feel that way because the mind's constantly regenerating
Yeah.
itself. So it's like, okay, you know, what's up? What else you got?
Yeah, I got some more questions for you.
Of
This
course.
one I had this one I had to ask you, Jarius.
hmm
What are some of the challenges of trying to be an actor and breaking into the entertainment industry in 2022?
Some of the challenges that I personally deal with are not necessarily industry problems, but more so personal doubt problems that I have to like conquer. Like for example, like what happened? I was doing a movie, and when I was doing it, I forgot a lot of like lines because I didn't. Well, it's not that I didn't put my best foot forward, but I just need to be more prepared. So that's a challenge. But a lot of it's more so like challenges in terms of like self more so than like industry challenges. See, me personally, I don't in terms of industry challenges, I don't expect to necessarily to like start. Sorry, I don't expect to start immediately and be successful. And what I mean by that is like I don't expect to get an agent immediately. I don't expect to get like special treatment immediately. Like I think a lot of people when they try to break in or try to like do this as a career, they don't really understand the schematics. Like me personally, I studied this in college. I studied cinema, and for me, like it was like because I also know the history. I'm not just doing this as an actor, but I also understand the history of movies and also understand like the generalizations of how the industry works and respect that it is a business. I think that puts me further ahead than most actors that only are artists. And that's another thing right there. I think that a lot of people really need to understand that you have to become entrepreneurial as well as artistic. I read a lot of personal finance as well, and what I've learned since February of 2021 when I started when I started reading personal finance is that it's very, very, very much business oriented in terms of like entrepreneurship, where you rank. In fact, there's a second book that Robert Kiyosaki wrote. It's called The Cash Flow Quadrant, and it talks about ESBI, and that's employee, self employed, business owner, investor, and it basically talks about the world of business and how it works. So as a actor or as a reporter like you, we would be in the S quadrant because we're self-employed, right? So once you understand that you're a solo entrepreneur and understand that that this is also a business and not solely come at it as an artist, that's something that you definitely have to tackle because you'd be surprised. Like I have a friend, she was telling she did she did this tutorial a few years ago, like before COVID happened, and she was talking about how when you go on audition, you'll have to freaking like deal with casting directors that may not cast you, but just because you look like an ex or look like a son or like something that's superficial like that, because that's just the industry. But that would be a challenge outside of the already doubt that you deal with, because you're dealing with your emotions when it comes to acting and even with music. But I think that like musicians are more braver, because the thing about acting is that you're hiding behind a character, but with music you're basically on stage like burying your soul. But to answer to go back to the question, well, I'm not drifting out the question, but I'm still on it. But yeah, there's self-doubt. I mean, there can be self-doubt, but also to understand the entrepreneur side and to understand that it is a business, and you have to have a dual mindset between artist and entrepreneur. Like that's what I've learned through experience, as well as the books, as well as certain people, because you can't listen to everybody. That's another thing. You cannot listen to everybody because a lot of people don't have the right information. And like and I actually like meeting actors because they tell me like I ask them the same questions. I'm like, okay, what's your medium? What do you want to do? Like, get specific. Get specific. Not realistic. I don't believe in that garbage. I don't believe in like, oh, just be realistic. Think like, because that's thinking small. That's really thinking small. It's like accomplishing anything. And there's this thing called the ABCs of goals that Bob Proctor did, but I'm not gonna get into that right now. But yeah, man, just like be specific, not realistic. And I'm gonna keep saying that. I'm gonna say it one more time actually because I like it. Be specific, not realistic. So like understand that it is a business and you have to look at it as entrepreneur and as well as an artist. You have to have a dual mindset, like control, because again you're working with your emotions. Like be mindful of your emotions, be mindful of that. And yeah, I mean if there's anything else, like I'm sure there's more, but like that these are the immediate things that come to my mind.
And one thing too, and also in your industry, in the radio industry I'm trying to get into, is you're going to face rejection, and you can't take it personally. You 9 times out of 10, I know with the radio industry, you're going to get turned down or whatever. Even with guests, I've had guests I thought I could get coming on. Don't take it personally. Use it as motivation to keep improving it, and use it as a learning experience as well. Because too many people that get rejected, they're like, I'm done with this.
That goes back to what I was saying about that doubt that I was
Yeah.
talking about, because you will deal with, that's another thing, you will deal with rejection. Like I haven't dealt with it as much, but like with me it's like, but again, I'm not also, I know it's not going to happen overnight either. So odds are either I'll have a long way to go or a short way to go. I'm not even thinking about that right now. The point is I'll get there. It's going to
Yep.
happen. It has to, by law. So
Well, then that's what I'm trying to do too. I'm trying to do one day at a time and keep improving. And even if I do make a mistake, I learn from it and try to get better every podcast show. And I'm also trying to branch out too. I love my sports. 80% of my shows are sports, but I'm also trying to interview people that are actors, actresses, comedians, and stuff like that as well. So just trying to branch out a little more too, and let people know, hey, this guy can talk other things besides sports too.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, your main what I like is that you have this passive content. My friend, he actually has a podcast as well, but what he does is that he branches out and does other things. But you have your main content, which is sports. So that's great. So that way you have something that you can do passively, and then you have something else you can do actively. So that's great.
Definitely. And we're going to get to the next question too,
hmm
Jarius. Who are some of your favorite actors and actresses and musicians as well?
You know what? You know, I don't I've never had really had like, oh, he such and such is my favorite actor, so and such is my favorite actress. I did have a thing for Emma Stone at one point, but had a thing for her. But what I've admired more so with actors is this particular technique, like chameleon actors, how you can really dive into a character and how you can really lose yourself in a character. That's what made me fall in love with that craft specifically. The idea of being someone other than yourself. You know, when I was studying cinema, they were talking about the difference between personality acting and chameleon acting, and acting against your type, which is like basically like acting against your type, like what your type is, but you're acting against that, which is similar to chameleon acting, but not 100%. There's character acting, leading, so like little things like that. So I mean, so to answer your question, which is really my own answer, like I never really had a favorite actor or an actress, but I've definitely admired actors in terms of their method.
And I was going to say too, can some of these actors and actresses who've been doing it? Oh, okay.
Mm,
Yeah, I wanted to ask you this question. Can
mm,
some of these actors and actresses who have been doing this for years actually start getting caught up in some of their characters?
they do. They do. You've seen it with Heath Ledger. If you've seen The Dark Knight, you've seen it with Heath Ledger. So you can't. I mean, there's certain going back to personality acting. Robert Downey Jr. As Iron Man, like that. Like you have some actors that really are their characters in real life. So they can get caught up in the character. They can like be in their character 24/7. But me personally, I've always been like, okay, in character, out of character, in character, out of character. That's how I've always been. And so you can kind of say that's Meisner, like a mix between imagination and feeling the character. But for me, I never knew that at the time. I really just looked it up, like I think maybe a year or two ago, before I really knew what I was doing. Like to me, I thought I was doing something new, but actually it's something else, or my version of some other method. But that's basically how I've always been. I snap in and out of characters. I don't really like linger. I don't linger, and I mean it sounds interesting and I would be open to do it, but my process has always been in and out. So that, yeah.
Okay, I was going to say. And one thing too, you have to have a great memory being an actor, actress. Is there any tips you would have for anybody that's wanting to be an actor, actress, and memorizing lines? Is there something that you do that helps you with your memory?
You know what? It's funny that you said that, because I actually was saying like I was like being bad at lines, but you're right. You do have to really have a good memory. I mean, you just got to go over it over and over and over again. I mean, I think there's a book called Think and Grow Rich where they talk about the 13 principles of success, and one of them is autosuggestion, which is basically repetition. So, I mean, in life as well as art, and art is a reflection of life. You just got to keep repeating it. You just got to like keep reading it over and over. One method that I'm going to start doing when it comes to this is just reading the lines every day. The next time I actually work with that director, I'm gonna keep reading the lines over and over and over. I mean, repetition is how we learn. And
Yeah,
that's the best thing I can say. Repetition is how we learn.
yeah. And that's true even with my podcast. Also, too, I've learned this when I first started this. I was scripting everything; it was all prepared and stuff like that.
Mm,
But one of the guys from the Toronto Raptors, Eric Smith, he's their radio guy. He's like, Chris, you know what makes a better talk show, podcast, or you want to get into radio? Talk to your guests. It's okay to write stuff down, but talk to your guests naturally. Like
right.
we're at a donut shop right now, or we're outside at a park or whatever. It makes for better conversation. Be natural.
hmm
Okay. And I just got a couple more questions. You okay for time? A few more
Yeah.
minutes?
No, great.
Okay. Again, how did you end up becoming a member of Lauren Brill's The On Sale group, and what has that experience been like, and how much has it helped you so far?
So Lauren and I, we met in 2018, in December 2018. We met at Cielo. There was a club in New York, and she was very nice, very kind. And I was just surprised how kind she was. And we got to conversating, and she said she was going to start her own company. She was still a sportscaster in
Yeah.
Cleveland at the time. So when we met each other, she would tell me about how she's going to make her company, and then like about a year later she made the Unsealed. So I mean, I'm not always there, but for the most part it's great in terms of like what she's doing. And absolutely, and as I said earlier in the interview, I was telling Lauren yesterday, like, yo, this is really good. And even though she's frustrated being an entrepreneur, I think it's also I think she just may need to, like, educate herself a little bit more on entrepreneurship, because she's starting this from an employee mindset, but she shifts to an entrepreneur's mindset, it'll be a lot better. I'm not saying she's not, but I'm just saying, like, I've just noticed a few things that could be tweaked. So she's open to suggestions, but yeah, that's basically how Lauren and I met. And then in terms of the Unsealed and how it helped, it's funny, like, I connected with this one story, not personally connected, but surprised that this happened. It was a woman. Her name is Haley Hunt, and she wrote this story about how she wanted to be a singer, and she never accomplished that dream. She's in her 30s, and she started a company called The Verb Kind, and which basically deals with kids in detention centers and how they basically need help, basically. And in that story, it was just so interesting because I kept reading it over and over and over again, because it was just, well, first of all, the story was very inspiring. But I mean, all the stories are inspiring, but for some reason I was just connected with that story. Like, all the stories are great, especially Lauren's. Like, Lauren's letters are great, phenomenal. I think I'm not sure if she's written like a letter, like any self letters, but besides that, like, no, the site's really well. I met you, which is another plus. So every once in a while you see like pluses, but for the most part it's more so me also supporting a friend. So that's basically how I became a member, and I met Lauren before she made the Unsealed. So how did you meet her?
She used to work in Buffalo. I'll tell you her story. She used to work in Buffalo, and I used to tweet her and stuff like this. But a couple years ago, I was a different person. I wasn't happy at my other job, and the one day she didn't write me back, so I just kind of said, "You're not much of a friend or whatever." So for a couple years, me and Lauren didn't really speak on social media. And then when I started doing this podcasting and starting changing my life 2.5 years ago, I actually thought about her and her. Our on sale group, and I contacted Lauren, and Lauren was glad to hear from me. And I just explained to her I was in a bad position. Like, I wasn't very happy. I was miserable. I was at a job where I was making money, but I wasn't happy. And I told her about what I was doing, and she was so supportive. And she's like, "Chris, I'd like to be your friend again. And would you like to be part of this group?" And ever since then, it's been great. And I think me changing myself and becoming a happier person, it just now we're good friends on social media, and I'm glad to be a part of her group.
Mm-hmm. 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 Okay.
Yeah, so
That's
I
great.
thought, okay, yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's just, you know what? Sometimes you need to step away sometimes from friendships and find yourself. And then like I said, this is totally changed my life, and I've made so many contacts on doing this, but not just contacts, friendships as well. And like I said, I've met people like yourself and other people on the Unsealed as well.
Awesome.
Okay.
What's the next question?
Next question is going to be a sports one for you, buddy. Which sports teams do you follow, and who are some of your favorite athletes?
I love the Lakers in terms of
Boo,
basketball. Hey,
boo.
whatever. Uh, like LeBron, I actually said when COVID was happening, I'm like, he's gonna win one more championship before his career is over. One more, and he did. I mean, my younger brother, he's like,
I think
okay, well, what?
yeah, I noticed with LeBron James, he's obviously a Hall of Fame player, one of the greatest of all time. But
Yeah.
I noticed with him is either you love him or you hate him. There's no in between. It's like love or hate. I guess it's sort of like Isaiah Thomas with the Pistons.
hmm
I'm a Pistons fan, Bad Boys fan. Either with Isaiah Thomas, you loved him or you hated him, and that's the same with LeBron James.
Isaiah's a little different. LeBron's a nice guy.
But
So,
Isaiah was just a different person on the court. He was no nonsense. He wanted to win. Like after the games, you were his friend, but on the court, it was old business. Like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan
oh
didn't
yeah.
care who you were. He wanted to win and win. And I guess it's a little bit different in this era than in the MJ era, Isaiah era, Larry Bird era. So, but you know what? It's not easy being an athlete like LeBron James because social media too. They didn't have social media back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and
No.
this has changed it for most of these professional athletes. I'm not a fan of his, but I do respect him, and he is one of the greatest players of all time and stuff like that. Like I said, it's with him. It's like it's either one way. There's no in between with him. There's some athletes where there is, but with LeBron, it just seems like people love him or dislike him.
Right. That's
But
true. In terms of football, I'm a Giants fan. I don't really have a favorite player, but like I'm a Giants fan overall.
yeah,
And Tom Brady coming back. How do you feel? How do you think he's gonna? How do you think he's gonna be this season?
I think this is going to be his last year. I don't think his heart's in it. He's won 7 Super Bowls. In this era, okay, he's the GOAT, but I don't like this. Oh, the GOAT is greatest of all time. Every era is different. Football is different now than it was in the 70s and 80s. So I think each decade should have a GOAT and not just one guy as a GOAT. So from 2010, or I'd say 2010 to 2020, you could call him the GOAT. I think he's had a hell of a career, but I think at his age now and all his business opportunities he's getting, and he's starting his own film protection company, I think, and he's got his own clothing line, and he's got young children that he wants to be around as a father. I really, my opinion, I think this will be Tom Brady's last year in the NFL, and that's just my 2 cents.
Okay. Well, I'm only asking because I was at the dentist yesterday and I was seeing Tom Brady and I saw some people like on ESPN, like Stephen A. He was talking about oh well, what's gonna happen with Tom Brady? And then I actually asked my dad, like, how do you think he's gonna be? He's like, who knows? Because honestly, I haven't watched too much football, so I really wouldn't know what shape he's in. So. Tom Brady's like one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. No, the greatest
Yeah,
quarterback of all
yeah.
time. So it's like his career speaks for itself. He's another person who people doubt it. It's always the people that they doubt
Yes,
that always
yes. Yeah, you know what?
that always be successful.
Yes.
Like the hell.
Yeah. Like and Tom Brady was a 6th round pick, 199th overall. And to even this day, he uses that a chip on his shoulder. And that's sort of what I'm doing with my podcast show, being
hmm
50 years old, not going to school for this. I'm using the naysayers and the negative responses to keep me fully motivated. And I can completely understand why Brady keeps playing. He doesn't need the money, obviously, but he
hmm
wants to prove people wrong. It's something that is inside of him, a drive to keep proving people that they were wrong about him, even the 23 years later.
Right. Right.
So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. Yankees fan, and then I would
my
say the
condolences.
Devils.
My condolences for the. Hey, what's going on with the Yankees? The first half, they were great. They had one of the best records in baseball, along with the Dodgers. But since after the All-Star break, they've played some real bad baseball.
Mm.
So I
Well.
don't know what's going on with them, but they're not going to have a very long playoff run if they don't straighten it out. Like obviously, it's a long season, 162 games. It's a marathon, but I'd say the last 50 games, they've been really awful, and it's like they need to get it turned around because playoffs are about a month away.
That's true. Because
So
baseball season is about to end.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm an Eagles fan, Tigers fan, and Michigan Wolverines fan. So this time of the year is the best time of the year for me with college football, the NFL going on, the CFL, the NHL starting off, the NBA. So this is a crazy time of the year for me.
Yeah, I'm sure. But it's
Def-
also Nirvana, isn't it?
Yep. Yep. So, and I'm gonna wrap it up. Just this one question before we get to the end.
Mhm.
What is the latest going on in the world of professional wrestling that right now with AEW and WWE? Any thoughts?
Last I heard, I haven't been paying attention to AEW. The last I heard, it's more celebrity things with WWE right now. Liv Morgan is still the SmackDown champion. I think Martino said that last time. So yeah, Liv Morgan became still the SmackDown Women's Champion. That's what I know so far. I mean, like I've seen little things, but I haven't seen everything that's going on, so I can't really comment 100%. I'm not as active as I was on the chat when you and Martina were doing it. And by the way, when Martina comes, please invite me because I'll say anything. Like,
Yeah,
so, yeah, just
yeah,
come.
she's
I'll definitely be back. Just let me know.
yeah,
Wrestling
we
show, another interview. I'm cool.
yeah, we work well together because I was a fan of wrestling back in the 80s in the
Mhm.
golden era,
Mhm.
and I can relate to that stuff. And then she's kind of knows a little bit more of the current wrestling. So it's a good combination of me and my experience with the old guys like Hogan and Warrior and Bret Hart
Mhm.
and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And she's
Mhm.
more of the Roman Reigns era and the
Yeah.
Uso
Yeah.
brothers. But I
Yeah.
have to be honest, I'm kind of getting tired of Roman Reigns and the Uso brothers, and I'm really hoping Drew McIntyre finally gets that world title and wins
You,
it in his hometown.
you know what's funny? A lot of people hated Roman Reigns a few years ago, hated him, but now people like Martina love Roman Reigns, and that's because he finally turned heel. And
Yep.
I'm thinking, okay, okay, like you guys hated him, you called him a new Cena just because he like come on, like you guys got to chill. Honestly, it's like, but I mean, I've never been a hater of Roman Reigns. I don't hate anything, honestly.
No, no.
It's a waste.
That's a
But
strong word. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a strong word. I guess dislike would be a better word.
yeah, or just
Dislike.
favor the other person, be pro
Yes.
person. So like for example, like John Cena, Randy Orton. This is more when I was watching it. This is like uh post ruthless aggression era into the PG era. So this is like I started watching wrestling in '08 because I didn't watch the Attitude Era. I didn't watch Stone Cold and The Rock, or at least a lot then to know exactly what was happening anyway. So I started watching wrestling in '08. I never heard Stone Cold Steve Austin until '08, by the way.
Wow. Wow.
And never. I heard The Rock, never heard
Yeah.
Stone Cold ever
Wow. Wow.
until I started watching it. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And that's crazy considering the fact of who he was,
Yeah.
you know? So I heard of two people when I was a kid, when wrestling was really popular in the '90s. I heard two people, The Rock and Bill Goldberg. That's it. And
Okay.
WCW was really big back then. This is before
Yes.
Eric Bischoff took a shit on it. But I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm joking. But
No, no
no,
worries. Hey, I'm gonna put you on the spot with this question, Jarius.
go right up.
If you were a pro wrestler, what would you prefer to be, the heel or the baby faced? And to be honest, wrestlers are like actors as well. They've got to
They
know
are.
how to get.
They
They
are.
are, and you know what? Everyone's like, "Oh, it's all fake," but they have to
It's
be in great shape.
staged.
They have to be in great shape, and they have
Yes.
to be great athletes, and they do get hurt.
Yes, Chris, you don't even watch wrestling as much, and you get it. See,
Yeah.
people say like, "Oh, it's fake." No, it's not. It's staged. You know who the winner's going to be. It's choreographed.
Yes.
It's no different than a performance. That's exactly what it is, a performance. You know, it's
Yeah.
no different than musicians. It's no different than acting on stage or acting on a film set. It's the exact same thing. But people just want to say like, "Oh, it's fake," because back in your time during the
Yeah.
'70s and '80s, it was still considered this is what the wrestling industry calls a shoot, meaning
Yeah.
that it's real, you know. So it wasn't a stage product until people didn't realize it was a stage product until the '90s when the click thing happened and everyone went out of character. But you know, but to answer your question, I will want it like, you know, it's been said that you can't be something in between, but I disagree with that. What the beauty about being a heel is that you have the creative freedom to do whatever it is you want to do. So you don't have the same thing when you have a baby face, but you also don't want to be hated either. You don't want to be booed, you know, especially when you have like, you know, especially when you're just like, you know, when you're playing, like, because like you said, being a wrestler is like being an actor, so you're dealing with your emotions a lot as well. The only the main difference is that you're in front of a live audience when you're a wrestler. When you're an actor, depending on what's your medium, you may be in front of a live audience, or you may be on a closed film set. So it's the same thing. So I will want to be a mix of the two. And, a lot of people like a Stone Cold would say that you can't do that. Like, there's no mix in between because it's not making money. And I understand that, especially from a business perspective. However, just looking at this from an artistic perspective, from a creative perspective, I want to do something in between. And you can do something, and you can do it. You can, like, there's nothing that's impossible. Nothing is impossible in life. And nothing, not a zilch. So, that, to answer your question, a mix of both, maybe a feel or a haste. I'm joking.
Yeah, I've had some professional wrestlers on here, and the majority of them prefer to be the heels, but also it's up to the promoter who's going to be heels and baby faces. And sometimes people just don't have the personality to be a heel, and sometimes they don't have the personality to be a baby face as well. But I would really like to see them turn John Cena back to a heel again, because that would shock people. Like Hulk Hogan, when he turned bad in 1996 with WCW and started the NWO, shocked the hell out of the industry and people. And that would shock everybody if they turned Cena bad. Even The Rock has been bad a few times as well. He can do both. Rock is special because he can do both of them, and I think John Cena is capable of it. But I guess at this point of his career, he probably just wants to remain a baby face.
Yeah, but he actually just celebrated 20 years, actually.
Yeah.
So, that's the one Raw I did watch because Cena's my guy. So, yeah, man. I mean, like, in terms of the Cena heel turn, I think that's long past done. I don't think that. I'm not saying it can't happen.
Yeah.
I highly think he's just gonna stay face though, because
Okay.
I think that's kind of like, now that he's a part timer and he's doing movies now, it's more likely he'll stay face for the rest of his career. And you know what's funny? When WrestleMania 18, when Hogan went back to the WWE as Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and he versus Rock, everyone was cheering Hogan, like, because they were all Hulkamaniacs. All those people grew up in the 80s watching Hogan. So I think what's going to happen is that like maybe 10 or 20 years from now, Cena's gonna come back and have that type of moment where all those kids that are fans of him now are going to grow up and be fans of him later. Like, the one thing I like about John is that he's a long-term thinker. And when you're a long-term thinker, that always reaps dividends. And so I think it's going to be great for John because of the impact the impact he has and still is having, so John's always been a guy, and I'm actually going to work with him one day. I already put it out there in the universe. So
awesome.
Yeah, so
awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna meet. We may become friends. He's always been my favorite. We'll like, talk to each other about wrestling and acting and how he likes acting. Actually, there was a backstage interview. For those of you who don't know, backstage is basically for non-union members to look up certain acting roles before they get like highly. There's a word for that, but I'm gonna say this: before they get an agent, or before they get a publicist, or before they get what's the other thing? Oh, a manager. So before you get your team, you usually just like submit to auditions however way you can. Backstage is one the biggest platform for non-union members, because what the thing about acting specifically is there's this thing called the Screen Actors Guild, where you get a union card and then you have to do only union-based projects, versus if you're non-union, you could do anything. So he did, but going back to Cena, he did a backstage interview, and that was really good. Like, I would highly recommend it. So especially if you're a fan of Cena like me, and an actor like me. So that was just the best of both worlds. And his process was very interesting because he's looking at the problems of the character versus getting into the character. And the thing about acting, and you hear this a lot, is that there is no right way to do it. And it's so true. There really isn't. If art really is a reflection of life, and there is no right way of how to live your life. There's no wrong way to live your life either. So you just got to go with the thing that's best for you. So
Absolutely. And then I got one last question for you, Jairus, and we'll wrap it up.
All right.
Thank you for staying on more than 45 minutes. I really appreciate it today.
Yeah.
Any advice for those who are watching or listening later on to this podcast show, looking to pursue a career in acting, entertainment industry? And where can my audience follow you on social media if they wish to contact you?
Okay, well, as I said, my Twitter is at Jairus Lovell. I'm on Snapchat too. I'm not sure if you may be a stranger. I'm not sure because I usually just like keep that, and Snapchat's pretty hush hush anyway. I do have a public Snapchat though, so there's that. I have my personal development Instagram, JLW310. Again, that's JLW 310. So that's the socials. I have another Instagram page, but I'm not sure whether I'm gonna activate it again. I may do it soon, like who knows. But that would be at Jairus_Lavelle22 if I decide to activate it again. Now, in terms of advice, first of all, as I said earlier, please understand that this is an industry that requires you to have some sort of business intellect, then understand and respect that it is a business and not just come at it from an actor like, okay, well, you know what, or an artist specifically, and just be like, I want to accomplish my dream. Like, that's fine, but also understand that it's a business and businesses have to make money. There's a quote. I mean, I'm not sure if it's as relevant, but I'll say it anyway. Companies make money, individuals get taxed. But the premise is that companies have to make money, businesses have to make money, industries have to make money. It's just the truth. It's not anything to be sad about, or and more importantly, it's not to be a spiritual snob about and be like, oh, well, you know what, I'm too good to be rich. Well, you need money. You need money. Well, money's important. It ain't like it ain't important. Your life's more important than money, but money is important as well.
Yeah.
So to understand, so to sum it all up, um, have a mindset of both an entrepreneur, because you are an entrepreneur when you're an actor. You're an entrepreneur when you're a musician. You're an entrepreneur anytime, and when you're making art your career, you have to become an entrepreneur. You're either an employee or an entrepreneur. You have to shift into entrepreneurship. Like Chris is an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. If you're desiring to get into an industry where you don't depend on anything except yourself, you're a solo entrepreneur to a large degree. Like I'm still learning as we speak. I'm like, there's a woman, her name is Laurel Langmeyer, and she basically teaches about money. That her YouTube channel is actually Laurel Langmeyer. So yeah, you can definitely watch that, especially when it comes to business literacy and financial literacy. She actually worked with Robert Kiyosaki back in the 90s. So yeah, I'll keep saying this too. Like, understand that this is a business. Work on your craft. I mean, if you want to do schooling, if you want to do acting classes, I did acting classes myself. But yeah, like, just do that. That's the main advice. Like, have a dual mindset of the artist and the entrepreneur and balance them, because you're going to have to do that anyway. Like, when rejection happens, remember that this is what you want to do, this is what you love to do. And I mean, I'm sure there's more I can say, but that's the immediate thing. So I mean, don't give up, because if you give up, it'll never ever ever happen. That's crucial in anything in life, not just like your dream, but like, you're guaranteed to fail if you give up. So and then you'll live in regret, and then that weighs tons. So trust me, that's not worth it at all. So keep going, don't give up, have a dual mindset, be prepared. I mean, there's more I can say, but these are the things I'm getting from my mind right now. So yeah, Chris.
Okay, definitely. Hey, I was going to say, I definitely open invite to come back on again, and maybe you can talk about a little more about your latest projects or next project in the acting industry. And yeah, definitely would like to have you come back again. And I want to say thank you so much for coming on today and giving me over an hour of your time and getting to know you and your story as well. And that's the thing I love about this show. It's storytelling. I can share some of my stories and my experiences with my guests, and I always learn something new from all my guests on my show.
Okay, awesome.
So All right. Hopefully we'll see you. We'll keep in touch with you on social media, and give me about 15 minutes, and I will download this to my audio platforms, and I'll send you a link to it as well on Apple and Google and Spotify or Anchor FM if you want to share this on your social media accounts as well.
Awesome.
And I think I got one comment on here. My friend Dave, a bartender, I have this little pub in Guelph. It's sort of like Cheers. Everybody knows my name. Great show. Thanks, Chris and Jerry. I'll see you soon, Chris. Thanks, Dave, for watching. So that's another thing, too. I'm working on getting local businesses to sponsor my talk show, and I just got one yesterday, so I'm quite pleased about that.
Awesome.
Okay. Jairus, again, thank you so much for coming on, and keep me updated on your latest endeavors, and we'll definitely see you on the Unsealed as well.
Awesome.
Okay. Have a great night, Jairus, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Chris, thank you so much. See you again.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the podcast with Jairus Lovell, and I'm looking forward to keeping in touch with him as well. Just to let you guys know, my next Live with CDP podcast, our Live with CDP sports talk show, will be this Friday, September 2nd, I believe, at 3 o'clock Eastern, with the Philly sports guy, Jamie Pagley. He's a Philly sports guy, so he's going to come on and talk about the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles, how they look in training camp, how they looked in preseason, and he's one of their number one fans in Philadelphia. And we'll talk to him about the Eagles and maybe a little bit about the Phillies, who have been playing really good baseball under their new manager, fellow Canadian Rob Thompson, who took over for the fired Joe Girardi as well. So hopefully you guys can tune into my podcast show, season 4, episode 27, this Friday at 3 o'clock with the Philly sports guy, Jamie Pagley, as well. And he has his own podcast show, does a great job as well. And yeah, like I said, and like I do with all my other podcasts, guys, give me 1 second and I'm going to put that up on here. Live with CDP Sports Talk. The audio version will be downloaded to Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, and LinkedIn as well. And also, you guys can check me out on TikTok at Live with CDP. And you guys can also check me out on beacons.ai. And all my social media pages are on beacons.ai under Chris Palme. So you can check out all my work there as well. And you guys can also check out my digital writing at wordpress.com/home live with CDP podcast.wordpress.com. Check out my last article I wrote last week, why the Canadian Elite Basketball League failed in Guelph as well. And guys, I'm just dealing with a cold, so don't mind me. I'm going to wrap up the show, and hopefully I'll be feeling better by Friday. Just some other news, guys. The Philadelphia Eagles open up the 2022 NFL season on the road Sunday, September 11th at 1 p.m. versus the Detroit Lions at Ford Field. The Philly sports guy who comes on Friday at 3 o'clock, season 4, episode 27, we'll talk a little bit about that game and how 3 keys to an Eagles win over the Detroit Lions at Ford Field on September 11th. And also, guys, next Argo Bounce live audio show about the CFL's Toronto Argonauts and the CFL will be this Wednesday, August 31st at 7 p.m. Eastern with my co-host Nick Small, live only on Twitter Spaces. So if you guys check it out on Twitter Spaces, it's recorded, it's live audio. Nick Small's going to come on, and we're going to talk about the Argonauts' 37-20 win over the Cats at BMO on Friday night, and also talk about their Labor Day game on Monday, September 5th at Tim Hortons Field. So check out the Argo Bounce live audio show tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on my Twitter page at Chris D. Palme, and you can find us on Twitter Spaces. And if you'd like to join the conversation, just request it, and we can accept you as a speaker as well. And I will have some news for you guys on Friday about a new sponsor of this show, and also myself joining a network starting in September as well. So I've got some good news, and I will share it with you guys in the Philly sports guy, Jamie Pagley on Friday as well. So, guys, I'm going to call it a show. I'm still not 100%, but I will be on a podcast tonight, 7:15. If you check me out on YouTube and on Twitter, Sean Stewart, who's the play-by-play announcer for the Detroit Drive of the basketball league, is going to have me come on, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the CFL on his podcast show tonight at 7:15. Check me out on Twitter and on YouTube as well. My first appearance on another podcast show. So that's about it, guys. Again, I want to say thank you to my guest, Jairus Lovell, Jairus Lovell, aspiring actor and a sports fan and a pro wrestling fan, for coming on today and talking about his trying to get into the acting profession as well. So really appreciate Jairus coming on. Also check out the onsealed.com website as well. So it's about people sharing their stories with other people on there. And my friend Lauren Brill does a really great job. So again, guys, thanks again for everybody watching this live on YouTube. Please subscribe if you haven't. Thank you to everyone watching on Facebook Live, on Twitter, and later on my audio platforms such as Apple, Google, Spotify, Anchor FM. Give me about 15 minutes and I will download that. And I want to say a special thank you to Greg McBride from Onward Media in Kitchener for helping create a 3-minute demo reel of my work as I'm trying to get in the radio industry. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will play it more on all my social media platforms as well. And if you guys could let me know what you think of my demo reel, that would be great as well. So again, check me out tomorrow night on Twitter Spaces at Christy Pame for the Argo Bounce live audio show with Nick Small at 7 o'clock as we talk Argonauts and CFL. And check me out tonight at 7:15 on Twitter and YouTube, as I will be talking CFL with my with the host Sean Stewart, who's out of the Detroit area. I hope everybody has a great night, and we'll hope to hear from you guys on Wednesday night on Twitter. And we'll see you guys back here for season 4, episode 27 on Friday, September 2nd at 3 p.m. with the Philly sports guy talking about Eagles. Go Birds. Have a great night, guys, and take care. And we'll see you guys on Friday at 3 o'clock with the Philly sports guy. Thank you again for watching and listening to Live with CDP Sports Talk.